Hi everyone, good afternoon, it's me again. So today is the last in my series on positivity. I've really enjoyed doing it this week, and thank you to everyone who's reached out to say that they appreciated the series and all the questions and comments. It's been absolutely great engaging with everyone. So I started the series on Monday and we were talking about what positivity is. Tuesday, I discussed the many different health benefits of living with a positive mind. And yesterday, we discussed toxic positivity. Today, I'm going to talk about my own personal journey into positivity and explain why I'm so passionate about spreading the word on living with a positive mind. I started branching out and reading about positive mindset, I would say a little over 10 years ago. But to fully understand my journey, why and how I came across it, we need to go back possibly a further 10 years, maybe not that long, just a bit more, a bit less than 10 years. So in my late teens, over a matter of months, I went from being ambitious, energetic, kind of up to no good, to literally having no energy and no motivation. I'm not going to go into the specifics of how long it took me to be diagnosed, but needless to say, I was accused by doctors of being dramatic and lazy. And after many years of tests and going back and forth to doctors, I finally was diagnosed with an autoimmune illness called pernicious anemia. So, this is a chronic illness, meaning there is no cure. The reason the diagnosis took so long was because the doctors at the time believed this illness was a result of either old age or alcoholism, which I wasn't old and I didn't have alcoholism. So when I received the diagnosis, it just felt so unfair. I was completely in a negative mindset. And I just felt like I've been handed a life sentence. There is no cure, and I had to receive B12 injections every 3 months for life. I never felt the injections helped that much at that time. They certainly didn't give me the energy I used to have. So I was definitely living on the cusp of being a young woman, but not having the energy that I saw all the rest of my friends having. So I definitely fell into a cycle of negativity. Firstly, I denied having any illness. I was young and I was healthy, and therefore it couldn't exist. And then I would burn the candles at both ends and wonder why I could not find the energy to get out of bed for days. I didn't want to listen to my body and I didn't want to listen to the doctor. So fast forward a few years, I was now married with my husband, and we had decided at that stage to try for a baby. And after months of trying, I visited the doctor. To cut a very long story short, I was eventually diagnosed with infertility, and that was caused by endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome, both of which are chronic illnesses. There's very little treatment and there is no cure. These are lifelong illnesses. This was around the time I had been introduced to the world of having a positive mindset. And at the time, I was very focused on my inner dialogue. That's that little voice that talks to us all day long. I was shocked to hear how I spoke to myself internally, and also how judgmental I was of other people. I wasn't being kind to anyone inside that dialogue, and I particularly was not being kind to myself. I delved into this world of self-development and noticed over a matter of weeks that I had much more appreciation for myself and time and patience for others, and I generally was just much happier. So going back to the infertility diagnosis, as much as I was crushed by the news, and I really was crushed by the news, I also knew there were options out there. I knew we could try fertility drugs, IVF, and possibly adoption. My confidence in becoming a parent did waver slightly, but I also had the confidence that the right thing would happen at the right time. Positivity empowered me to start researching rather than feeling sorry for myself in the same way I did with the pernicious anemia. So I began researching polycystic ovary syndrome and endometriosis, and I decided to try a recommended diet. Through my research, I also discovered that pernicious anemia could have contributed to my infertility, and I spoke to my doctor about increasing the frequency of my B12 injections, which they were happy to do at the time. I would never have done this during my diagnosis of pernicious anemia. I was too stuck in feeling sorry for myself that I didn't, there was no resolution. It was just me feeling self-pity. So I had an appointment with the fertility clinic, and just the way I always do, I did all my research. I was gathering as much information as I could, so I was completely prepared. And just 3 days before my appointment, I started feeling not really myself and decided to take a pregnancy test, and it was positive. Now, I'm so aware that this is not everybody's story, and that's my story of fertility is not to give anyone advice. It's just to tell you about how positivity helped me during that very difficult time. I know there are women out there have tried every diet, have tried every medication, and it still hasn't worked for them. This is just about how positivity helped me get through that extremely hard time. More recently, I've also used positivity to get me through other health issues. So after my pregnancy with my daughter, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, which is a form of hypothyroidism. And then after I had my son, I was diagnosed with autoimmune gastritis. It's a very rare disease, but it's a chronic precancerous stomach condition. More recently, I am now being investigated. I haven't got full diagnosis for mast cell activation syndrome, which it's a very complicated illness, but it's based on allergies. So in case you weren't counting, that's 6 chronic illnesses that I have. And yes, I'm not going to lie, there are days I'm exhausted. I have 2 children. I run my own business. My husband travels. There are days I just have no energy. And that's totally a symptom of autoimmune illnesses, chronic illnesses. However, I know those moments aren't going to last. And I know when I'm feeling better, I'm going to keep researching and I'm going to keep looking for ways to treat myself. I know personally that diet and stress management work tremendously for me. I've a very strict diet that's low histamine, excludes gluten, dairy, soy, nuts and eggs, and that's due mostly to my allergies. I choose to see this as a plus rather than a minus. When I tell people I have a very strict diet, the first response always is, I'm so sorry about that, but actually I'm not sorry, because I was so ill before I was doing that. So now that I am controlling my diet and I know everything that I'm putting into my body is good for my body, it makes me have more energy. There is nothing to be sorry about. This is me taking control of my health. Of course, it's hard at times, especially with the strict diet, particularly going out to eat in a restaurant, but I focus more on the benefits of cutting out the foods for my body and my health, and how exactly that makes me feel. As I said, this is only my story. There is no one size fits all in any chronic or autoimmune illness. This is also my story of positivity and how positivity has got me through. It is in no way to make anyone who has autoimmune illnesses or any chronic illnesses feel bad that they're not doing the same thing as me. It's not about that. This is my own personal journey. So what did positivity do for me during those times? Well, it gave me hope. It stopped me relying on what the doctor told me in those 10 minutes. The doctor can't tell me everything about those illnesses in 10 minutes. It empowered me to take back control, to research my own illness. It empowered me to listen to my own intuition and my own body. And it inspired me to want more and to be more. So that is my journey with positivity. It's a small part because positivity has also reached all areas of my life, including how I parent, my career, my relationships, even during my relocations. It's been a complete game changer in coming from a very negative mindset into believing in more and knowing that there's always a rainbow at the end of every storm. I personally would love to hear your positivity stories, so feel free to tell me them in the comments. Also, feel free to send me any questions, even those about my health. Disclaimer, I am not a doctor, but I'm happy to answer anything based on my own knowledge. So that's the end of the positivity series. I will be back in 2 weeks with the series on how to be positive and ways to integrate that into your life. So this is going to be proper skills and tools on how to be positive and how to just create that beautiful, positive life. In the meantime, this is my last day working before spring break. The kids are about to come home. My husband's away to get them. With all their energy and happiness to be off for spring break. So have a fabulous spring break if you're celebrating it this week. Take time to rest, take time to reflect and to renew. Have a great time. Bye.